Right then, are we ready for our next act? In this wonderful tent that we've got here, the coffee shop stage. It's with great pleasure that I get to introduce this next person. We actually did a gig together and we went all the way to Belper with Neil as well. It was like a double headline thing. And we travelled quite a distance because I'm North Lincolnshire, I think. Are you Hibblestone? Somewhere in Hibblestone. And we went all that way and no bugger turned up. But I think it was the greatest gig we ever did, or one of my favourite gigs of the year, absolutely brilliant. So I hope lots of you hang around and support our next act. It's absolutely fantastic. I want you to put your hands together and give a very warm welcome to the wonderful Dr. Bongo!
Hello dear gods. I'm afraid Top of the World is an incredibly hard act to follow. It's nice, hopefully you're all in a laughing mood now. You've got at least one cider down you, and you may notice I'm quite awkward. If I'm laughing at my own jokes through my set, it's because I find myself funny to soften the blow of anyone else who doesn't. So, one of us is going to have a great time. I do spoken word and try and make people laugh through these means. A lot of my pieces are quite short, so don't worry too much about applause, otherwise you'll be expending the precious energy we need to get ourselves through the rest of the day. So my first piece is called How Homework Taints Innocence. When my sister Stevie Jane was age 6 and innocent, she came home from school with a project on the environment. Having exhausted all our books on her lengthy toil, she sweetly typed into Google, birds covered in oil. Mother dashed across the room without a jot of grace, but seemingly not in time though, you should have seen her face. So, I am the eldest of 10 and have 11 million cousins. We're one of those families. But they have provided endless amusement and inspiration as I was growing up. This next poem on the theme of childhood innocence is called Out of the Mouth of Babes. When me and my cousins were little, a perplexion gave us shrugs. We had spiders, worms and beetles gathered in little tubs. The riddle that we faced though was, what do you call a menagerie of creepies and bugs? As our group of 2 to 8-year-olds observed worms in the sunshine harden, the conclusion that we reached, I fear, you too will have to pardon. Well, snails live in a snailery, and these were bugs from the garden. We ran in to see our mothers with smiles sweet and sugary, and in the voices of angels lifted them from drudgery, a chorus that made them spit their tea. Come and see our buggery! True story. A lot of my pieces are based on true stories because I think real stuff can often be quite funny, and it's one of the ways to glean more joy from life, isn't it? So I like spending a lot of time outdoors and have often grown little not pot gardens, but you know, little flowers in pots, and had a modicum of success with that when we lived down south. We moved to Lincolnshire about 5 years ago, and all of a sudden we've got all this space. I'm like, I'm going to try my hand at vegetables. Anyone who has had an allotment or tried to grow their own fruit or veg will know the triumphs and tragedies that come alongside that, and this is a little ditty based on my own experience. It's quite new, so I'm going to lift the book just in case. Ripe, juicy raspberries, I'm so oft denied. The fruits of my labour never make it inside. No strawberry jams or moist carrot cake, all the things while I'm planting I'm hoping to make. No sumptuous tomatoes or cucumber for lunch, some wee garden beastie gets enticed by the crunch. Caterpillars and pigeons and aphids to boot have some stiff competition from this thief of the fruit. He comes home from his learning and heads straight from the plot, and if it's ready to harvest, he'll polish the lot. But I do not consider my efforts a waste, yet I still hope and dream of just getting a taste. How I hope to achieve this? Next year I will sow some butternut squash and habanero. So it's keeping on the theme of wildlife, nature and being outdoors. This next one's a little short one. The picture was amateurish and a little out of focus, but with palpable excitement I clicked upload. A comment lit up my screen quicker than I could have anticipated. Great tits. I look forward to the weekend when we booked to visit the coast in hopes of getting a shag, or perhaps a cormorant. Those right, you were, oh no, come on guys. Get your minds out the gutter. What have you done to these people?
Sorry.
So taking inspiration from those close to me, my partner is often my muse. This piece was written not long after we moved in together. It's called Domesticated. I text my lover this afternoon, baby, I want you. I want you. I want you to take the washing out of the machine. I remember fondly back to smutty exchanges, however, cohabiting has left us not talking dirty, but talking clean. We moved in together quite quickly, like our timeline of relationship was accelerated, so that blissful honeymoon thing that a lot of people sort of saunter through in their first period of time was pretty much non-existent. This I found in a notebook just a couple of months after we'd lived together, and it's called Dangerous Last Words. I loved my partner very much, till the moment he was suddenly dead. He was my best friend and my lover. We shared our work, our home and our bed. He was robust and vibrant. No one shocked more than I by his death. Was it the late nights and boozing, or the words of his dying breath? They weren't said in a whisper, croaked or forced through a cough. They rang out loud and clearly. I just heard PNT and switched off. Him. I promise I am a lot nicer to live with than I seem. So the other day I was trying to consider his needs and wants when preparing a meal, and this is the result of that. My misguided partner tried to be sweet. When I text him, "What would you like for dinner?" he replied, "Just your company." So tonight he's watching me eat. I know a lot of acts came out of the pandemic with some really glorious pieces about how spending more time with their family was a joy and all of the enriching experience that they got out of a terrible situation. All I got was basically some vitriol about my child eating vegetables and this next piece, which is called Frozen. Tapping away at the computer, success graced me with a grin. One of those big ear-to-ear cheesy ones when you know you're going to win. And you need to win. Because way more than one time too many, you've been on the receiving end of a particular sarcastic look that gets under your skin. I'd taken steps to remove that look from your collection, owing to the fact that you've ignored all my protests and objection. Let's just say, honey, that I was working on both of our poker faces then. Because if I was suddenly not lit up by such provocation, it could have resulted in an injection of suspicion. I had considered a hitman, but the cost of Botox is low. And now your face is frozen because you could not let it go. I slipped it in whilst you were asleep, the needle thin, the jab's not deep. I think you were surprised by my acting so, but from your face you'd never know. so brand new, it's not even really finished yet. I would love some audience participation. It's also a song and I don't generally sing. So if you guys want to get in on the chorus, it's to the tune of Drunken Sailor. It's what do we do with a kidnapped sailor? 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 Eli in the evening. Oh yeah, and the evening. This is in celebration of a news article that came out 10 years ago, and every year when I get a new calendar, I write down in May to have a quick glance at it again, just because it's one of those things that will never not be funny. Its full title is Captured by Somali Pirates and Other Events at Sea, 1954 to 2010. So I hope the narrative will build. Please excuse me if I giggle, like I said, it's been a decade of hilarity. So we're going to start with the chorus and then I'll go into it. Are you ready? What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? Eli in the evening. This WI group go the extra mile, anything to raise a smile. Doing things by halves is not their style. Eli in the evening. What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? Eli in the evening. Captain Calendar was touring, his books being held ransom had changed his outlook. Another ship to sea he never again took. Eli in the evening. What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? Eli in the evening. During his ordeal he'd never felt bleaker, hiding in the bilge to dodge the grim reaper. His tales he recants as a public speaker. Eli in the evening. What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? Eli in the evening. How come surprised for the captain was wildly remissed and read the book's title but not synopsis. They're prepared for the talk on a different premise. Eli in the evening. What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? Eli in the evening. Miss George's lack of judgment was hardly fleeting, but dress up as pirates when we meet 'em. We'll surely get a giggle when we're greeting Eli in the evening. What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? Eli in the evening. Not long past till realization was dawning that they'd sprung pirates on the victim once again without warning. Abject horror, hand-wringing and fawning. Eli in the evening. What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? Eli in the evening. Dark a stoic man and warm of humour, described a commandeer took not a 4-time schooner. The women wished had known his story sooner. Eli in the evening. What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? What do we do with a kidnapped sailor? Eli in the evening. When amusement overtook the great contrition, was moved by the captain's disposition. They hadn't judged their costume competition. Eli in the evening. This is his book, if anyone wants to have a look, and I highly recommend looking up the news articles on Captain Cotton Patch meeting the Parker and WY group in Devon, because it's just beautiful. So I'm just gonna do 2 more for you now. This one is dedicated to anyone who has ever been in a relationship with a computer game enthusiast, specifically World of Warcraft in this case. It's called Wowwitter. We seem to have some trouble, my geek lover and I. When we go to bed at night, he leaves me on standby. When he takes my clothes off, it's really not the same vigor or enthusiasm as unwrapping a new game. If I were a computer, he'd turn me on all day. Seeing me in CGI would make him want to play. But when I nibble his earlobes, he treats me with disdain. I have buttons too, you know, they just don't look the same. I've tried to show an interest, watch closely whilst he's played, tried to fathom why he'd rather be an elf than get laid. Maybe I'll try explaining in terms that he can get. Because I'm not machinery, it's fine when I get wet. And if tonight again I have to please myself, it won't just be the monsters that do damage to his health. We can work out a system of gaining constitution, if it's what he really needs, a level up prostitution. And I'll use his language to tell him when I come, an orgasm in binary, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1. Right, my final one is called Wet Patch. It's short, it's sweet, and it generally makes everyone groan in despair, which is one of my favourite sounds. So if you do feel despair, just let it go. After the moment, there's always a fuss. My darling, we whisper, something's come between us. During the action, you sneakily slide, moving our bodies more onto my side, and after it all, I'm left bereft, and you smile, you bastard, I sleep on the left. Being the sort to deal with an issue, or frantically dab and rub with a tissue, but being the nature of the juices of sin, it's now just a wet patch with bits in. I've been Dr. Bongo, you've been lovely. Have a gorgeous rest of the festival.
Oh my word, absolutely wonderful. Once again, the wonderful Dr. Bongo!